Welcome to an informational lecture on the OTC Practical Nursing Programs. My name is Dr. Michelle Crum, and I am the director of the Springfield Practical Nursing Program, but I will be discussing all three programs, those in Springfield, Lebanon, and Table Rock, in this video. The purpose of this video is to provide you an opportunity to access information 24/7 directly from our website that gives you a lot of insight on the programs themselves, provides you with information on admission requirements, and some in-program information, as well as answering a lot of frequently asked questions. That way you don't have to wait until it's maybe a business day to find this information out. So hopefully this video will provide you with the information you are seeking. I would like to begin by providing an overview of our practical nursing programs at OTC. While we all fall underneath the OTC umbrella, so to speak, we are considered three completely separate programs by the Missouri State Board of Nursing. Obviously, we are identified by our locations, but we are three separate programs. And while we are very similar, we do have some differences. The beauty of that is that gives you some flexibility and some opportunity to pick and choose which one is going to work for you the best or match best with what you're looking for. So the first thing I'm going to discuss is our delivery method. And recently, the Missouri State Board of Nursing approved for all three practical nursing programs to move to a hybrid delivery method. What's hybrid really mean? Well, it's a balance between virtual online type of learning and in-person face-to-face learning. So it's not online. Online would be if everything was just online and you never had to physically come to campus. Hybrid means where a lot of material is presented in an online format so that you can, watch lecture videos at 10 o'clock at night in your pajamas while eating ice cream if you want to. You don't have to sit with your backside in a seat in a classroom for a certain number of hours every single day, every week of that, semester. So there's a lot of flexibility there. But we do have some in-class activities where you do come in and you apply what you've learned in those lecture videos to activities that we do in class. They might be case studies, they might be labs. Whatever that activity is, it's meant to help solidify that information in your brain. So that's kind of how hybrid works. Now, of course, there's also the clinical component, which is face-to-face, but that is kind of separate from this because we've always had that clinical component. But this hybrid modality allows you the flexibility to listen to lecture when it's convenient, but you still come to campus, but it's not for nearly as many hours as that it would have been in the past. Now I would like to talk about the program start dates. So if you look at this closely, you will see that we have three different opportunities to start the program within the calendar year. The Springfield PN program has two cohorts, and one that starts in the traditional beginning of fall semester, which is August, one that starts in the traditional beginning of spring, which is January. Lebanon also has a spring start, which is January. So if you're looking to start the program in January, you've got two options. You've got both Lebanon and Springfield. Table Rock has a unique situation where theirs is a fall start, but it's October. And what is cool about that is if you need a little more time to get your prereqs done, that gives you a little bit more time to finish prereqs, and you're still actually only starting 8 weeks after the August start in Springfield. So that is a fantastic option for people who need a little bit more time to get their prerequisites done. Now, I have people say stuff to me all the time about, well, Lebanon and Table Rock, they just seem so far away. If I live in Springfield or near Springfield, I don't know about driving to those places. Well, first, let me say this, hybrid. Hybrid means you're not going to be driving to those places every single day, every single class time, because a lot of that is going to be done online. You will go, but it will be far less frequent than it would have been had you been seated. Now, the other thing that needs to be said is if you live on the south side of Springfield or Nixa Ozark kind of area, and you're not considering both Table Rock and Springfield, you're really selling yourself short, because I got to tell you, if you live in Nixa and Ozark, you can probably get to the Table Rock campus faster than you can get to Midtown Springfield. Table Rock campus in Hollister is literally, you can see it from 65 and you can park at the front door. So it is really easy and accessible. And I'm not saying Springfield isn't, but hey, let's face it, we are in Midtown and you've got to come to this part of campus and you've got to find a parking spot on this campus, and it's a little bit more challenging. So just be advised what you're signing up for. The Lebanon program also has a similar situation. If you live north of Springfield or east of Springfield, if you're like a Stratford, Marshfield kind of thing, listen, you've got to think about Lebanon as an option. It's straight up I-44, and again, you can see the campus directly from the interstate and you can park at the front door. So most of the time, if you're living in Marshfield, you can get to the Lebanon campus faster than you can get to the Springfield campus. So if you're not considering these other options, I highly recommend that you do look at that and give yourself as many options as possible to get into a program. You can definitely apply for more than one. Application deadlines, I do have those on here, but I will also say this. I will be periodically updating this video, but these application deadlines sometimes get changed, not by much, but a little bit. So your best bet is to just check the website for the most current application deadlines. It's always going to be a couple of months in advance of when the program starts, because we have to have time to select our cohort, our class, but also give the students time to prepare to enter a program and get all the things done that they need to. So that's why it's always a few months in advance of when we start. Now I've got more information on program directors also on the next slide, to include photos so you can put faces with names and or for at least me, a voice. But I'm the director for the Springfield program. Tracy Liska is the director for the Lebanon program. Crystal Fears is the director for the Table Rock program. And I've got our emails under there, but it's also on the next slide as well. So if you need to contact any of us, you certainly can. Now I will tell you this, your College Navigator is also going to be a great resource. It's not that you can't email us, but I will tell you that we get a lot of emails. So if you can be a little patient, we will get back to you, but it may not be immediately because we get so many emails all of the time. But your College Navigator is also going to be a great resource, and they don't have as many people that they're trying to look at getting into the program. So they might be a faster resource for you initially. So as promised, here are the PN program directors. I took this directly from our website. If you go to our website and you click where it says team, it's going to take you to this page. And incidentally, right below each one of our pictures is a listing of all of our faculty. So if you look below Tracy Liska, where it says Lebanon faculty above her picture, and then she's the program director, if you were able to page down, you would see the rest of her faculty under there as well. You'd see my faculty under me and Crystal's faculty under her. Each one of us has our basic contact information, and also you can see that our names are highlighted with a hyperlink, and that's going to take you to a bio. So if you're interested in finding out the background information on the people who might be your future faculty, that is definitely available to you. What I will say about these ladies, I've been in this job for 25 years. I've been a director for a decade. I'm very fortunate to be able to work with two wonderful program directors. The three of us truly do work as a team, and the reason we're working as a team is we're trying to make changes that make our programs as similar as possible. They can't be completely alike, but as similar as possible. We try to make decisions that are student-driven, that helps you to potentially graduate from this program and then certainly pass boards and become licensed nurses. And with these two folks in my corner, I feel very confident that at OTC we have some of the best PN programs around. One thing that can be confusing sometimes for students is the program sequence and how it all works out. We don't follow full semester schedules. We are very much in an 8-week block format. all of our classes, once you are in the program, are 8-week block classes. So it's just a matter of how it's going to fall. So if you look at the courses themselves, Nursing 105 and 110, that's what you would take in your first 8-week block. 115 and 120 would be the second 8-week block. And 120 has an asterisk because that is a clinical course. So that course has a clinical component. Then in the middle of the program, you transition to Med-Surg 1, which is Nursing 205. That's by itself. Then 215 and 240, Med-Surg 2 and Management. And then our last one is Peds, OB, Community, and Mental Health. So 225 and 230. All of the ones with asterisks are courses with clinical components. So how does this all work? Well, I'm going to start in the middle because I can do 2 for 1 here. Springfield and Lebanon both have a spring start. So Nursing 105 and 110 would happen the first 8 weeks of spring, then the second 8 weeks of spring, then summer, then the 2 fall blocks. That's how you would start in January and potentially graduate in December, okay? Springfield also has a fall start. It starts at the traditional time that fall semester starts, fall A block, so August. So again, they're going to follow the same sequence, but it's going to be fall A and B block, then spring A and B block, and then summer. So if you start in August, you're pretty much graduating at the very, very end of July. Sometimes it goes to like August 1st, but usually it's the very end of July. Table Rock has a unique situation where they start in fall B block. So if you look, they're taking Nursing 105 and 110 in the B block of fall. Then obviously you have kind of Christmas break there, and then you've got spring A and B block for the next 2, then summer, and then fall A block finishes that off. So the beauty is you've got 3 different possible starts: August, October, and January. And with those opportunities, even if you didn't have all of your prerequisites done at the time for, maybe what was your first choice, you've got a very good second choice, and you don't have to wait an entire year for that to come around again. So I just wanted to try to give you something visual so you could see how the programs are laid out. All right, let's talk admission requirements. So in order to be eligible to enter one of our practical nursing programs, you have to have successfully completed 5 prerequisite courses. Now, it's possible to still be enrolled in those courses when you apply, but prior to starting the program, they have to be successfully completed. What does successful completion mean? They have to be completed with at least a C or better to be eligible for the program. So a D will not work, all right? English 101 is just composition. Psych 110 is intro to psych. The next 3 classes are all BCS classes, so they're your sciences, and therefore they cannot be more than 5 years old. If they are, you need to contact us because there's a particular course that you can take that kind of resets the date on that. But BCS 132 is health science nutrition. This is not just a basic nutrition course. This is very geared toward healthcare providers. BCS 165 and 205 are anatomy and physiology, respectively. So those are the 5 courses. By the way, your grade in anatomy and physiology will also contribute to your admission score. Here's the thing. If you're a go-getter, all 5 of these courses can be taken in one 16-week semester. If you so choose, you can take all of them that way. The trick is you have to do anatomy as an A block class and physiology as a B block class. So you would literally take one in the first 8 weeks and the other in the second 8 weeks. The other courses can be A or B block, or they can be 16-week courses. It doesn't matter. But it is possible to take all 5 of those courses in one semester. And I know somebody might say, well, that's a lot. Well, there's going to be times in the nursing program where you're taking 7 and 8 credit hours in an 8-week block. That's the equivalent of around 16 credit hours in a 16-week semester. So it's right on par with what you would be doing in the program. The next step is references. We do require 3 references, one of which needs to come from your anatomy or physiology instructor. Now, if you didn't do A&P at OTC or it's been a while, contact us. We've got some other options for that, but we really want one of your references to be one of your science instructors, if at all possible. Your other references can come from anyone who you have a professional relationship with, so an employer or somebody that maybe you engaged with in your job. Maybe you didn't actually work for them, but you had to work with them. That would be okay too. But what we really don't want to see is a family member or someone that really doesn't have a professional relationship with you providing those references. The next is our HESI admission exam. Now, the HESI admission exam is an exam that's administered by Elsevier that touches on the things that we know students need to be successful in our program. Reading comprehension, a good recollection of anatomy and physiology, and basic math skills, and critical thinking, logic, those kinds of things. By the way, I'm going to talk about math for a second. You're going to have to, if you're not already good at math, you're going to have to get good at math. Nurses do math, and we require that you do math, basic operational math, without the benefit of a calculator. So we have lots of videos to help students learn how to do that if you're rusty, but just be advised that's one of the requirements. On this HESI admission exam, you need to score at least a 70. But here's the thing, you also can take a second attempt. We have an option for students to take a second attempt if they didn't pass that 70 mark on the first attempt. We also have multiple ways for you to take this. If you'd like to take it in person at our testing center, you can do that. But here's the caveat. You can't wait till the last minute to schedule that because lots of people will be trying to schedule it. And if they don't have any slots, then that's just the way it is. They don't have slots. But if you still need to take it because we're getting close to the deadline, we have an online option as well. That online is proctored by a third-party proctoring service instead of our testing center. So the price can change a little bit depending upon whether you're taking it in person or online, but that convenience of being able to take it online is definitely worth a little extra for most people. And I know some people think, well, I don't know if I want to take online testing. Well, you're entering a hybrid program. Online testing will be something that you do quite a bit. So you're going to have to become comfortable with technology. The last piece of our admission requirement is the behavioral assessment. You actually don't do this until after the application deadline and we know that you've got a completed application. Once all of the pieces are there in your application, you will get an email and an invitation to a Canvas course that has this assessment. It's a 10-question assessment that basically looks at your communication skills, your critical thinking skills, problem solving, therapeutic communication, things of that nature. And that is the last piece that goes into your admission score. Once we have all of that, then we will look to offer, acceptances to the students who are highest on the list. So how do you find out if you've been accepted, and when will that be? Generally, once we have our admission scores, we don't really wait to send out acceptances. Sometimes, if we have a lot of students who are, technically our top students, but they're currently enrolled in a class, we may need to wait until at least midterms, if not final grades, come out for some of those classes. Otherwise, you might get something that's called a conditional acceptance, meaning if you get an acceptance and you're still enrolled in physiology and for some reason you wouldn't get at least a C in that physiology course, then you have to, give up your seat because you are no longer accepted because it was conditioned on passing that course. Usually what you'll get first is an initial acceptance email that says, hey, congratulations, we have a spot for you. And then it might ask for some additional information. For instance, if you're in the Springfield cohort, we have morning sessions and afternoon sessions. So we might say, hey, which is your preference? Because we assign you to one or the other. Table Rock and Lebanon may have some information that they want back from you before they send you the full acceptance packet. But once we get that basic information, you'll receive a full acceptance packet that's going to have lots of to-dos, immunizations and documentation and all of that kind of stuff That all has to be done prior to being released to register. You will also receive orientation emails that may or may not include, videos that give you generalized orientation information. Sometimes, what's coming in that email is, here are the course sections you need to register for. So we're trying to make sure that you get in the right ones. And then most of us now have a Canvas course that we call orientation, which has a lot of basic information that you need to have access to the entire time you're in the program. So you might get an invitation to that Canvas course at that point in time, so you can start kind of looking around and learning about the program before you even start. Students always ask me, well, how many students are you selecting for each cohort? And sometimes this varies. In general, the two traditional cohorts that Springfield has, we have 32 seats for each one, okay? Lebanon right now has 25. We may petition to try to get them more, but right now they've got 25 seats. Table Rock right now has 40 seats. So do we always fill our cohorts? Well, no. If we don't have qualified applicants, we don't fill those seats with people that we're not sure can be successful in the program. So if I only get 25 applicants for my cohort in Springfield, obviously I won't be making 32 offers. I'll be making whatever number of those 25 are good qualified applicants. So that's why there's a little bit of wiggle room on some of those. If you want to improve your chances in getting into a program at the time that you would like to get in, consider applying to multiple programs. So don't just apply to one. If you're looking for a January start, apply to both Springfield and Lebanon. If you're looking to start in the fall, apply to Springfield and also Table Rock. If you didn't get in with Springfield, you still have 8 weeks later an option to get in with Table Rock. If you applied for another program, you don't have to just apply for nursing programs. If you applied for another program, and you can also apply for a nursing program as well, and if you get accepted to both, you just have to make a decision. Which way do you want to go? The last thing that I want to talk about on this slide is alternative and additional courses. Students are always asking me or their navigator or the other program directors or other faculty, like, I'm trying to take my prereqs, but I have to have X number of hours because of my Pell Grant or because of A+, or whatever scholarship opportunity is being provided to them. And so students always are asking, like, well, what other courses can I take? If you're planning to go on to the ASN program at OTC, then taking Chem 101, BCS 200, which is micro, Math 128, and PLS 101, which is just political science, those courses will actually help you because they're prerequisites or co-requisites for the ASN program. But there are other courses that you can take that can be very beneficial. English 180, a lot of people ask me, like, why do you have a literature course on here? Well, because literature requires you to critically think and analyze and assess. And it also helps to develop sympathy and empathy. So that's still a great course. HSC 110, 120, that's like, we've got courses that are basically what are all of the health careers that are available to you, and then we've also got one that's kind of like medical terminology. So both of those could be helpful. And then CIS 101, which is a basic computer course. If you're feeling rusty, knowing that you're going to be in a hybrid program, that might be a great course to take if you're needing more hours for a particular semester. To wrap up the video, I have a few things that are also some, I call them odds and ends, because there are things that students ask and there's really no good place to put the information out there in one location. So what is the day in the life of a practical nursing student at OTC like? Well, since we're all hybrid now, a lot of your lecture is going to be provided in an online format where you literally listen to video lectures that are accompanied by a PowerPoint, and then you take that information and that is brought to in-class activities that you do that help you to apply that knowledge. So it might be you just finished your respiratory unit and now you're doing a case study on respiratory. So basically it's an activity that's trying to help you apply the knowledge that you learned in the videos, and that's generally what our in-class activities are focused on. We also have labs, so that's where you're going to learn to do things like your procedures and checkoffs. We also have a very unique way of doing checkoffs. I'm not going to go into that right now, but we have really interesting ways to do checkoffs that really help students out and take some of the stress away from doing those checkoffs. And then there's clinical. Clinical, you saw all those courses with asterisks that have the clinical component. You're going to have clinical. In fundamentals, it'll only be 1 day a week, but in Med-Surg, it's 2 days a week. So you're going to have those opportunities to apply what you learn in the classroom or on those lectures in the clinical setting. So that's kind of what the day in the life of a practical nursing student is like. We all provide you with a schedule for at least the 8-week block that you're currently in. So you know when you actually have to come to campus and when you don't. Even though if you look on the master schedule on your OTC classes, it might look like, oh my gosh, every single week I have to come to class 3 separate days. Whereas you look at your course calendar with us and you realize, well, maybe this first week I am coming all 3 days for an hour or 2, but then the next week I'm only becoming 1 day. And then the week after that, it might be only 1 day. And then the week after that, we might be back up to 3 days. So it's not a set schedule in that you don't do the exact same thing every week. We only bring you to campus when there is something valuable for you to do that's going to help with your learning. Let's talk college navigators. So every person, once they get assigned into OTC and become an OTC student, gets a college navigator. If you have told OTC that you're looking towards kind of the healthcare and nursing, there's a group of navigators that usually get assigned those nursing students. Not all of them, obviously they don't take all of them, but the beauty is these navigators are very knowledgeable about this process. They understand what's going on, and they have very quick access to all 3 program directors. If they need to ask a question, they can shoot a message off to us and we can get a message back to them pretty quickly. So your college navigator is your ally. They are going to help you through this process. They're going to help you, dare I say, navigate all of the different steps of the admission, becoming a student at OTC, then the admission process into a program, then while you're in program, helping you to figure out, how to do this successfully, looking at all of the different ways that they can help you succeed. So what is success in our program? Well, graduation. That's what we're all trying to get to. But even if you graduate, you're still not a licensed nurse until you take your licensure exam. And I will tell you, only the Missouri State Board of Nursing can determine who is eligible to sit for licensure. And in no way, no how are you guaranteed licensure just because you finished our program. Only the State Board of Nursing can determine who gets licensure and not. And a lot of that, obviously one piece is you have to complete a nursing program, but another big piece of that is the background check and all the things that they do to make sure that that practitioner is going to be trustworthy and be able to have a license that the public can rely on. So that's the State Board of Nursing. We're not really involved in that. But I can tell you that as I'm making this video, it is the early spring of 2023. So we have our pass rates for 2022. And all 3 practical nursing programs at OTC have a pass rate of 100% for 2022. What's that mean? Every single student, all 3 programs who took the licensure exam passed it on the first try. That's what that means. That's pretty hard to achieve. That's probably not going to stay 100% forever, but here's the thing. We are getting something new called Next Generation NCLEX, and everyone is having to, NCLEX is the National Council for Licensure Examination. So there's an NCLEX for RN, but there's also an NCLEX for PN. And that NCLEX is getting harder. So the program will be adjusting. We've already been adjusting to make sure that we continue to have students well prepared to take boards, well prepared to be safe practitioners. And then what about your employment options? Well, LPNs can do about anything these days, depending upon what's available in your area and where you live. In Springfield metro area, I can tell you that Mercy hires LPNs to work on the floors and even to assist RNs in the ICU. So you could do anything from that to being a floor nurse, to being a clinic nurse, anything that you want there. At Cox, they definitely hire as many LPNs as they can get to work and kind of lead in their clinics. Clinic schedules are great schedules. It's usually Monday through Friday, no holidays. So that's kind of a cool opportunity. But you can match what you want or need based on, what's available. If schedule is more important to you than where you're working or what you're doing, then you're going to want to find a job that matches your schedule. If schedule is irrelevant, but you want to make as much money as possible and you want to work in, a more exciting environment, well, there are a lot of opportunities. And if you work off shifts, then you sometimes get shift differential as well. So you can make more money that way. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you can dial up pretty much whatever you want. And don't forget that this is a launch point for RN as well. So your practical nursing certificate allows you to, with board permission, test for licensure and become an LPN. That LPN then is a launch point that allows you to do a completion program like we have here at OTC for Associate of Science in Nursing, which by the time you finish that degree, then you're eligible to sit for RN boards. And so at that point, then you could become a registered nurse. So it's a great opportunity. It's definitely something that you can build on. You can become an RN. You can get your Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, a BSN. You can get your Master's, an MSN. You can go on and get your doctorate. Whatever you want to do, this is literally the first step in that process, and it gets you started. And you might think you know what path you want right now, and that might change along the way, but the beauty of nursing is it's adaptable, so it can change with you. Okay, I hope I have answered most of your questions. If you have any additional questions, please utilize your College Navigator. You also have contact information for the program directors as well. You can email us. Remember, just be a little patient so we have time to get back to you. But we will do the best that we can to try to answer your questions. And I hope that we will be seeing you in class before too much longer.